3, 2, 1.
This is The Jungle, an up-close, unvarnished look inside leadership and business strategy. We wade into the real-world leaders' face and explore what they do to create a path forward, because that's what business is. Wild, exciting.
It's The Jungle.
Everybody, welcome back to The Jungle. Derek, it's a snow day today.
Epic snow day all across the U.S. My kids are home, so you might hear them in the background because it is a snow day, which means everything is closed in Kalamazoo, Portage, Michigan. What did they estimate? 6-7 inches? I think I got more than that. I shoveled this morning. It was heavy.
There's a lot of snow out there today. It's we didn't get a lot of snow through January, but here in Michigan, and then all of a sudden, whammo! The last week or so, it's been a lot of snow. We were making up for it.
Beautiful day today, though. Blue sky, cold, and snow. Reminds me of my hometown. It just does. Lots of snow, blue sky, and cold.
I don't know if the listeners know where you grew up, Derek. Where did you grow up?
Middle of nowhere. Just kidding. Thunder Bay, Ontario. North side of Lake Superior is the best way to explain it because no one knows where that is. But it's 8 hours north of Minneapolis or 7 hours. Great place, but it is cold and snowy in the winter. But yeah, snow all the way down to my former place too, Texas, San Antonio. Snow in Austin. I used to live in those places, and there's snow all over the place down there. Houston, all three of the cities I used to live in have snow. Look out. Yeah. And people don't get it. They say, well, they don't know how to drive in the snow, especially Canadians make fun of people down there. But the cars down there are all rear wheel drive. And just imagine that. You can't control those things in the snow. They don't work in the snow.
Sure.
I lived down there, and when I moved up here, I was on my car. I couldn't control the thing. And I grew up in Canada driving in the snow. So it's hard. Anyway, epic snow, lots of fun. Love it in our household. Kids outside all day, shoveling and having fun and sliding and making snowbanks. So I know you hate it. You're probably pissed off, Doug.
Oh, I'm okay with it. I mean, as long as the kids are outside. I mean, I can hear your kids in the background. My kids, I had to tell my kids to be extra quiet right now. So they're in their rooms, I think, but I don't know. It's the world we live in these days, right? It's the world we live in. Adaptable. Speaking of adaptable, that was a great segue. So we thought it would be great to have some of our students on the podcast. We had a couple on for the Bronconess launch with St. Julian, and we thought we would bring some of our listeners in to hear from the students that we get the honor to work with every day. I mean, that is really why we're here, are our students. We have fantastic students, and we really try to provide a unique experience for them in LBS, in our leadership and business strategy program. So we thought, let's have them on the podcast, hear what it's like for some of them who have just started jobs in a pandemic. What a difficult learning experience.
Former students, Doug.
Former students, and learn from them about what they like about our program, how they're dealing with their first few months into the professional world. So we had three of our students. We had Megan Miller, who graduated this last spring. She now works at Deloitte. We had Kordell Smith, who works at VMware. He graduated last spring. And Tyler Earnst, who is one of our current students in LBS, also works in our center. And so we had a great conversation catching up. All three of them are champions of our LBS consulting competition. Megan is a only two-time winner we've had. And Cordell and Tyler both led their teams to victories on different projects. So it was fun to see them again. We thought listeners would really like this. Derek, what were your takeaways from the students?
It was Cordell and Megan and Tyler jumped in on it, but they simultaneously said, understanding and learning how to operate when you don't know the answer, you don't know what you don't know, you have a lack of knowledge, and it's okay to be wrong, but you got to move sometimes, and just knowing that you can ask other people and you don't know. And I think that's such a one of the hallmarks of our program, right? We throw them the situation, we say, here's a question, goodbye. And you and I leave for a couple of days sometimes, right? And it's not by design sometimes because we don't know the answer. We're trying to figure out the strategic question for some company. But sometimes it is by design where we just let them kind of try and work their way through things. And traditional school, and they all said it, and I hate it. It punishes you for that, right? If you don't answer A, B, C, or D on your multiple choice question, it's wrong and it's bad. Well, that's not life, right? Most times we're operating in an environment where we have half the information or limited knowledge, but we still have to make a decision. You're never going to have all the information. You'll never have all the knowledge. And that's the world we live in, especially with our fund, making bets on people and companies. We never have enough information. We never will, but you assess the risk and you try and move. And so I thought that was awesome that they said that. They said it helped them a lot in their current new jobs. Even Tyler with some of his internships already learning some of that and how to be adaptable and not knowing what to expect, but just try to do your best.
It's the jungle.
It's the jungle. It's the jungle. It's what we call the jungle. You just drop you in it and you have no idea where to go, what to do, but you got to do something or you're not going to survive. So start moving is better and learn. It's continuous learning. Every 5 years, all the jobs are becoming obsolete, right? In some industries. So you got to constantly learn new things nowadays. It's almost exhausting how fast you got to learn, but it's exciting.
It's so true. It's so true. It's so true. I mean,
what's your takeaway, Doug? That was a long one. I had a super long one, but I was really pleased to hear them say that LBS taught them, you don't have all the knowledge. You'll never have all the knowledge. You got to learn to operate when you don't know. You got to learn to ask for help. And it was kind of a proud moment when they said that. Good to hear.
Yeah. Well, I think it's so relevant what you're talking about. I was talking to Kristen, my wife, recently, and we were talking about how many new things we have done in the last year, as professionals, and it's that doesn't go away. It's always the jungle. There's always new things. There's always adaptation. So that's really important to us. So it was great to hear that from the students. I mean, for me, the big takeaway was around relationships. The importance of relationships, but the difficulty of maybe building those relationships when you're virtual. There's another skill set that I don't know if we really prepare students as well as we should. I know it's something we think about in our program. We probably should think about it even more, which is that building great relationships, not instrumental contacts on LinkedIn or something like that, but like real relationships. They're meaningful. They help you learn. They help you grow. They're sources of opportunity. But there's a skill to be had in building relationships. It's not something that just drops down and it takes work. And I heard that from both Cordell, I think, and Megan, the importance of that. And for them, that's a real challenge, right? They're coming in, they don't know anybody to a new organization virtually. There's no headquarters. So it was just interesting to hear them talk about the importance of that. It makes me think we need more of that we do some of that training in our 40/20 class, but I think we need more of it even on building relationships.
Well, especially today, Doug. I mean, I'm waiting for the white papers to start flying out around LinkedIn, how to hire and onboard in a virtual world and how to successfully start a new job in a virtual world. It's coming, right? Because most of our students, the internships are going virtual and the first 6 to 8 months of some of these very challenging jobs that used to be travel, 85% travel are now 100% virtual. That's a challenge.
I was talking to Megan after our conversation, and she was a little bit upset that there's no hotel points.
Well, some of
the perks you do miss.
The airline miles and the hotel points are going to go so far down. And I as professors, we never get into that those perks, but they're gonna. That's the next big challenge is they're gonna be gone.
Yeah.
People used to just rack them up and take the families and, used to do that when Chris used to fly back in Boston. You used to have all your points for Florida trips. I remember.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's
Anyway,
true.
Changing worlds.
Yeah. So we hope everybody, I can hear your kids, so we should wrap this up.
Okay.
So we hope everybody enjoys, a special edition of The Jungle with our past and current students, Megan Miller, Kordell Smith, and Tyler Earnst.
The Jungle is produced by the Center for Principled Leadership and Business Strategy in Western Michigan University's Hayworth College of Business. Our center supports the leadership and business strategy major, conducts large-scale consulting projects, and trains professionals in acquiring and operating small businesses. To learn more, visit wmich.edu/leadership center.
And we are back in the jungle. It's a really special jungle today, Derek. Look at all these young faces we have.
Yes. Well, welcome, Megan, Cordell, and Tyler.
why we see Tyler all the time, but Meg and Cordell, welcome back. Good to see you guys. It's been a while since I saw your faces, so it's awesome to see you guys.
So let's start off with
you guys.
Yeah, let's start off with some intros. We need to have intros for all these young faces. So maybe we start with Grandma Miller, aka Grandma Miller, also known as Megan Miller, two-time champion. Megan, why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
Hey, like Doug said, I'm Megan Miller. I am currently a crisis and resilience advisory analyst with Deloitte, working to measure, assess, and enhance resilience and recoverability at commercial organizations. So that's where I'm at right now. Doug said, two-time champ of LBS. I graduated in April of 2020 from Western with a double major in LBS and marketing.
Champ. Drop the champ in there. I like it.
Cordell?
And I'm Kordell Smith. I'm a April 2020 grad as well from Western Michigan University. I work at VMware. I'm a software sales rep for our commercial customers. There, I help them with all facets of IT, especially as this time in the pandemic. It's been really interesting to see, the different cases of both sides of the pandemic. Some companies are, as we've seen, recovering, and some are not handling or not being able to handle the boom they've seen in their industry. So being in that space at this time has been an interesting journey. So.
And what were your majors, Cordell?
LBS, our leadership business strategy, and sales and business marketing.
Excellent.
Major.
Excellent. So you guys are off in the working world, and we got young Tyler, who is still in college. Tyler, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, Doug. So I'm Tyler Earnst. I'm actually a junior here at Western. I'm actually a double major in sales and business marketing and leadership and business strategy, just following right there in Cordell's footsteps. So great to see that. I'm an LBS champion of fall 2020. So I'm just a couple months out of that. And I'll be graduating December of 2021, just a semester early. So I'll be out there in the world here soon with Megan and Cordell.
So
It's
great to have three champions. We're going to talk about, for all the listeners out there, they might be curious about what are we talking about with LBS champions.
Was this all planned? Did we purposely get the champs on?
Everyone hold up your ring.
No. Yeah, it was planned. Let's put it that way. But so we'll talk a little bit more and kind of fill the listeners in on what LBS is and what it means to be an LBS champion. But this is a special podcast because we talk a lot to leaders of businesses, but really our day job and where we spend all of our time is impacting young people and impacting students, and either at the executive level with our acquisition program or our undergraduate program, leadership and business strategy. So for all the listeners, they get to finally meet some of our students, which is exciting. I got a little taste of that when we did the Bronco-ness episode. But fun to hear from students today on and past students on what does it take to be successful. We're thinking a lot about that in LBS, and we wanted to have them on to share some of their lessons and hopefully help younger students see what they can do and how they can be successful from these great students. And then also just to learn about what it's like to be a young professional. So why don't we start off, Megan and Cordell, you guys just started professional work at VMware and Deloitte, two great organizations. What's been your biggest surprise or insight that you've had now that you're out of college and you're now working? Megan, why don't you start?
Yeah, definitely. I've learned already so much in just 4 months here, especially working remote. So being onboarded remote when my job was supposed to be 90% travel, right? So that's an adjustment in itself. But some of the biggest learnings or surprises was just not taking things so personal. You're going to get bad feedback. You're going to fail all the time. And that's the name of the game, especially in your first couple months. And you just have to brush it off your shoulder and move on. Another thing is just over communicate. I can't stress that enough, at least in my case. Again, you just never know what someone's doing and what they're going to forget, what they remember. So over communicate. And then the last thing I would say that I've learned very quickly is the notion of building relationships, not networks. Instead of focusing on your network and building numbers and numbers of network connections, focus on the relationship and something meaningful that's going to last and that can actually help you with your career instead of just oh, how many connections can I make in this short of time? So those are three quick things that I can say that I've already learned and that have impacted me the most in just the first few months.
Cordell, interesting. Cordell, what would be your takeaways from the first few months?
Yeah, going off of that networking piece that Megan just touched on, I think now in this time, of course, being off from home, the virtual building relationships, that has been one thing that I wasn't used to, just being in person, you meet someone just out and about, but now that's become more important than ever, being isolated, you may say, especially starting a new role. Fortunately, I've had, much help in the company coming along, learning all these solutions from our teams, but really focusing on building that relationship, as Megan touched on, is being crucial to my journey here. And second off, going into the piece of give yourself a little time. Everyone, especially in this time, in my experience, everyone's has their unique scenario, how COVID really broke into their life. And so with that, there comes different roadblocks, different challenges, and give a little grace to not just yourself, but others as they're going through that. So, you'll be on Zoom calls and someone may have kids in the background. And so the conversation kind of pivots and that's okay. And so, you get into that point of just learning about their life and that kind of builds that relationship, as Megan touched on. And then finally, again, be agile and adaptable because we don't know what's coming around the corner. I mean, really with this wrench that COVID threw, a lot of people weren't prepared. Some may have been, but now it's kind of becoming our new normal. And so finding out what that looks like for you, I think is crucial in how you set those routines, those habits, because you're not always going to be prepared for it as much as you'd like to be. And that's okay. But as long as you make that adjustment to some capacity and figure out what works for you and hammer down on that. And so those would be my three keys, especially in this time. So.
Adaptive and agile. We're going to talk about the jungle a little bit. Some of these people don't know about the jungle. We're going to talk about that. So when Megan and Cordell, so you guys are, a few months out, when you think back now to college and you think like, okay, what are those things that I really wish I focused on to be successful as a professional? What are you thinking now that you can kind of look back and say, hey, I wish I did this, or I should have done that?
I think for me, we have, different parts called, we call it blocking and tackling of our job, because in any role you have the main responsibilities, but there's also those other side, maybe administrative tasks or, smaller parts to your role. And I think one thing that I've noticed really, I don't say hold me back, but takes me longer than normal in this time are the smaller parts. So it's not the conversations with clients, it's the back end thing. So making sure that I time block well enough to accommodate. And that's one thing, time management in school was decent. A lot of, I spread it out well, but I think spending more time on making sure that I'm more, I don't want to say accurate, but able to facilitate better in those blocking and tackling parts of the smaller picture and as the bigger picture. So,
okay. How about you, Megan? Anything you say you look back now and you're like, oh, I wish I did or focused on or didn't do?
It's kind of an obvious thing, but I cared way too much about my GPA and the grades and just doing too well and not enough on learning those skills like being agile, being managing multiple deliverables at once. And I never really kept a good log of my impact that I made. And that's something that I'm having to adapt and learn quickly, especially me adjusting to new projects every couple months. I've got to learn how to articulate impact. And you don't learn a lot of that in school except for LBS, right? So, but that is a big part, and attitude is everything too. I think college, you can have a certain chip on your shoulder and attitude that need to adjust a little bit in the professional workplace.
I like go deeper there, both of you, on tactical and the attitude adjustment.
Yeah, so in college, I think there was more time, being able to, have your own lifestyle, kind of do what you want, to whereas now it's a lot more things thrown at you. And so being able to handle that capacity in less amount of time. I think it has been one of the things that I wish I focused more on and being more efficient, I'll say.
With attitude, I would just say in college, I was kind of a mix between carefree, have fun, and be too serious. And in the professional world, it's almost the same, but a little different at the same time, right? So you have to adjust your attitude to, in my case, mend with the client, right? So I have to adjust, and I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. But I would just say, in general, keep a positive attitude through college, through workplace. That's going to take you further than you think.
So is there any specific experiences that LBS gives you, like running an actual brand, that help you with some of this going in? Because Tyler's doing that right now. Tyler, you can chime in, because you have 8 a.m. calls with clients right now. That's not easy to do as a student. So what, can you talk about that a little bit? Because Megan, you were once running a brand, and now Tyler, you're running a brand and for us in LBS, and that involves leading a bunch of students down uncertain paths. Can you talk about that? Did that help? Did it not help?
In my case, it definitely helped. I've talked about it with senior managers, and they're like, so there's one way to learn the back end of a business, right? And that's all about consulting. You're learning the ins and outs of business day in and day out. And to have already run a business and manage client meetings and deadlines and all of that stuff, of course, that translates into the professional world. And Tyler, I'll let you also add on to that as you're doing it right now.
I think for me, just the whole experience of helping run that Bronconus wine brand has been, it's interesting because like Megan and Cordell, they're about 3-4 months out of college, but some students, it can take them a long time to make that transition from like that student mindset to the professional mindset. And so I think what LBS does through that wine brand is to help get students in front of client meetings early, helps get them doing actual tasks that they would be doing in their actual career 6 months to 2 years down the line. And it puts them out there where they're uncomfortable, but to really get comfortable and good at something, you kind of have to tackle those fears. So I think for me and some of the students working on that brand, it's been really impactful to not shy away from that, but to embrace that challenge and to run with it, because I know for me, at least in my internships and whatnot, it's just been a lot more comfortable in those different settings because I've already been able to do it in the classroom experience. So it's really impactful. So any high school students, definitely don't just think you're going to go to college and it's going to be all quizzes, tests, exams, because if you come join something like LBS, it can be a whole lot more. So
let's talk about that. So what, because some of the listeners, even who are listening to our podcast frequently, haven't heard about what is LBS and what is this program and what is it like? Do you guys want to share what is this program like, Leadership and Business Strategy? What makes it unique? What makes it special?
And why you would suggest it to a high school student who's watching this or listening?
So the thing that stood out to me was that there's higher stakes. First starting out, you're really like a consultant for a client, not like, you are the consultant for the client. Whether you're in 30-10 or 40-10, which is the team leader or a team member, you're all working together, much like you would in a real job. So that's kind of how me and my team, we treated it. We showed up every day, did our job, worked together, and efficiently got it done. I think the really cool parts were, having the client come in and talk to us, being able to ask questions, being able to go visit the site, being able to do real field research. So we actually got to travel to Chicago, do some in-store research, survey customers. We got to go to the client location, their plant out and right outside of Grand Rapids. So there was a lot of different parts involved in not just the research side or the consulting side, but also you get to learn more about industries that you never might have looked into. And so it provided a lot of experience, meet a lot of great people, work with a great team, and one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had.
And I will add to that, the 3 things that came to mind. It's innovative, it's ambiguous, and it has community. And that's hard to find in college, if I'm being honest. Maybe not for some people, but for me it was. And LBS is the first place where I felt like I was in it together with the team, with my professors. And I learned so much about adapting, and that is probably the biggest transferable skill I would say that I take into my career now. But you just, like Cordell said, you get a project in artificial intelligence and you have to become an expert in 12 weeks and you've never heard of it before. And that's something that you get up and do, but it doesn't happen anywhere but LBS. You don't see that anywhere else. And that's the coolest thing, is you're on the cutting edge of what education should be and what professionals are looking for in new hires and interns in the future, is someone who can adapt, someone who's innovative, someone who knows how to build relationships and seeks that. So that's what I would add a little bit about LBS.
Do you have anything you add, Tyler? Like what you think? Because some of these people listening to this podcast never heard of LBS. They don't know what it's like. What makes it different? How would you talk about that?
Yeah, I think I probably hit on 2 points here. So that first point would be, you get really good at working under pressure and chaos. Doug and Derek do a really good job of actually creating that controlled, chaotic environment.
That's not on purpose. That's just how it is. You're doing client projects. It's chaotic, and we don't do that on purpose. It's just reality.
Right. I mean, it's chaotic. It's stressful, but at some point you're gonna have to learn how to get through that, and that applies to like so many other facets in your life besides a business setting. And then I'd also say, for me, reflecting on what it was like to be in high school, back in 11th grade, public speaking was my biggest feared class. I hated public speaking. I was so scared of it. Never wanted to do it. And then fast forward into my junior year of college, I pretty much public speak for my 2 majors on a day-to-day basis, and it's something I'm a lot more comfortable with. And in that LBS program, you're going to be expected to actually present your recommendation to real-life CEOs and executives, which is something that you might never think you could do as a junior student. I never thought I could do 4 years ago. So just to show, LBS can take your weaknesses and turn them into strengths pretty quickly. So really neat about that.
So let's go through some of your individual journeys, because you guys all were leaders, champ. So, talk about give us some specifics on your actual leadership experience that you got, because that's hard to do in college. Give a student actual leadership experience on a project. So your leadership experience, start there, what you learned, and then what you took with you that's helping you today. So, and get specific, like, here's my leadership experience, here's what happened, here's what I learned, and here's what I was able to take with me.
Champ.
Megan, you're up first then.
And just as a quick understanding. So everybody who's listening, you hear all this stuff about champions. Like, so we run our class with a client, consulting teams, 10 teams, and they're all competing to give the best recommendation. Client picks the best answer to the project at the end. And so all of these great students have been champions. So there's a little background on that. So take it away, Megan, who's won twice, once as a team member and once actually as leading a team.
And it's important because it is a competition. We put teams up against each other in a stressful competition, and the client picks the winner. So,
and Doug and Derek, if you guys want to go into, I guess the history of LBS. So starting off with the wine project, then going into, being on the cutting edge of artificial intelligence, and then going into hydroponics. These things are, changing the industry. So, and you had the video project just in time for COVID. So you're always right ahead of it. And you guys want to go into that and how that process works for you guys and things of that.
Yeah. So this semester, we're not going to let the client, but we're doing, how is digital transformation going to disrupt supply chains downstream for clients in sales and marketing and getting their products to clients and their client relationships. So that's what students are studying. So we try to tackle projects that are super relevant to what students are going to need in the next 3 to 5 years and what they're going to walk into. But go ahead, Megan, go back to the original question on describe your leadership experience, what it was like, and then what you took from that you're still using today.
Yeah. So when I was a team member in 3010, it was the wine project. So answering the question, can we do it? Can we create a purpose-driven wine brand out of the Hayward College of Business? And as a team member, maybe you come in and think that you don't have much power, right? You are just delegated tasks and you do the analysis. But this is where I learned that leadership is not a case of positional power, right? You can step up wherever you are, whether you are a team member, whether you're an analyst in the professional world, whether you're a high school student, whatever it may be. And I took that experience, and in that case, I reached out on my own to the head buyer of wine at Meyer and got a conversation, got that relationship started, and brought that then to my leader. And he amped me up. He didn't look down on me for stepping above him or stepping above my peers. They all just rallied around me, and that was the coolest thing. And then as a team leader in 4010, leading six students or so on a project in artificial intelligence, I went through the ringer. I had someone who was pregnant, who was sick, who had something removed in the hospital, and was on and you, again, just learn to adapt and understand people's situations, right? And understand expectations and set those expectations and be clear. And that was something that I had to learn very quickly as a leader, was how to give expectations and hold them accountable to them, but also be flexible and adjust when world happens, when life happens, right? So those are two experiences. And Derek, if you want to prompt me again, I forgot all three of your questions.
Well, yeah, I think you got it. Like, what your specific experience, what did you learn, and what do you take with you today? So I think you nailed all three. So that was really good, Megan. Yeah, I remember I still remember your semester, and you're walking in my office, say, hey, my students got this, one's in the hospital. I'm like, ooh, good luck. Cordell, go ahead, because you did some. You'll be forever remembered as the person that did some unique things,
and recognized by his teammates with an award for the Servant Leader Award, which the students, recognize him as one of the top leaders, the top leader in the class. So yeah, share what you experienced.
My journey as a 4010 leader was nothing short of amazing. I mean, I had a great team. It was the first day, we get assigned teams, and everyone's kind of in a room, and there's that awkwardness of everyone's just sitting there looking at you, because as a 4010 leader, after you go through the 3010 being a team member, it's your responsibility for this team now. That's how it breaks down. You are the captain, essentially. And so being able to lead in a direction where I don't know anything about hydroponics. I was never the kid that knew it all. I was in high school. I was a kid that basically slept every day in class. And so now everyone's looking at me like, what are we going to do? And how is this semester going to go? And I really had no idea. And so from day one, I just decided we're going to go through that awkwardness together. And that's kind of how we started becoming a family. I'm like, yeah, this is maybe a little awkward for me too. And so we just decided how we're going to do it. And that became our team role. Like, we just had our own flow, kind of meshed together very well. And everyone had their own identity within the team, I think, which made our diversity really blend together to do some beautiful things. So to talk about one of those experiences, I'd say in our second deliverable, we had to come up with an equation to get the market addressability, or the TAM, I forget, but we're throwing our brains on the wall, brainstorming, just hashing out ideas, and we created a very open space. So in that room, no idea was a dumb idea. There was, you could say something and someone might have another idea that bounces off of that, and that's just kind of how we ran together. So even as a team member, they all had equity. There was no team leader, team member dynamic. We were all in this together, and they took it and ran with it, which was amazing to say. We pulled that deliverable off in 5 minutes. We were scrambling in the last 5 minutes to put it together. We created a very versatile equation to address not only our products within the market, but made it adaptable to any market, any product. And so the thing that I took from that group was that together, there's no limits to, even if you don't know, if you've never been there before, but as long as you go together, you'll be okay. And so being a leader to them was the greatest thing I've ever done. As long as I knew I had to just understand that I don't know is okay. There's no need to.
When you had an amazing story. I know Megan. I want to wrap up. Megan needs to jump off because she's actually a real professional. So Megan, thank you for joining us. We're going to continue with Tyler and Cordell. Great to see you again. We'll talk with you soon. Thanks for joining us.
Great to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Great seeing you, Megan.
Bye.
Easy, champ.
So, I mean, and Cordell was recognized as a top leader in the class by his teammates who he was leading. Tyler, do you want to take a stab at that real quick?
Tyler, before you answer, because you had a great experience too. We've said wine and hydroponics, and I want to rephrase hydroponics as indoor sustainable farming for food of the future, right? There's a big difference between what listeners may see, what we see as hydroponics. We're talking about indoor sustainable farming for food of the future versus hydroponics, which could be misinterpreted. So the project was indoor sustainable farming for food of the future, which is that farm has actually tripled in size now. So it's great to work with them, but different framing, which Doug always gets on me for, is how do you frame the story? But Tyler, go ahead, because you had a good experience too, and now your internship starting off with Dell is just awesome. So go ahead.
Yep. So this past fall, the client was in the IT space here in Kalamazoo. So really relevant market for everything happening right now with COVID. Tech has been driven really at a rapid pace. So that was really neat to work with. But the difference from my experience to Cordell and Megan's was that mine was actually entirely virtual. So I didn't actually ever get to meet any of my teammates in person ever. I only was able to see them on the computer screen. So honestly, some days I never had real proof that they're even real people. Honestly, like they're just on my computer screen. So that's it's an interesting relationship dynamic to be 100% virtual. But I had a team of 8 students, and I think what was really cool for me was that every single student was from a different major. Half of them were from different colleges. So I had students from engineering, design. I had students that were in marketing, advertising, promotion. So many different unique skill sets, which I think is what's interesting about LBS, is that to take it as a major, it has to be taken with a second major. So in that program, if LBS isn't your first learning experience, you can still kind of fall back on whatever that second major is and bring that to the team. And so for me, it was really fun as a leader to work with different people like engineering and supply chain and things like that, which I never really had exposure to. So it is my job to help hold their skill sets out for this project on IT and ultimately get to that recommendation for the CEO. So really unique virtual experience with a lot of different backgrounds that I think will go forward quite nicely in the future with different divisions and clients and whatnot. So great experience.
So let's wrap up here. Maybe I'll have one quick question and then we'll go rapid fire. So Cordell,
well, Tyler's already done the rapid fire, right? Has Tyler done the rapid fire yet?
He can do it again. Okay. So Cordell, Tyler, if you had to very quickly, what would be your message to students, high school students who are thinking about coming to Western Michigan University, taking LBS? What would be your quick plug?
Great question, Doug. Great question for high school students.
I'd say that curiosity piece. It's okay to not know, right? It sounds, industry leading, it may be daunting because it's all brand new. And I think this applies to college as a whole, that curiosity. It's okay to not know, but show up and get that experience to learn and keep taking those steps forward. And I think LBS does that in a way that you're not alone. There's a whole team with you. There's a whole class with you that are all taking this in together. And after that, you'll have your own unique experiences within your team. And within that, the growth in yourself from start to finish, I think you'll realize looking back and say, wow, I didn't know I had those limits. And so I'd say the first step is leaning into that curiosity and showing up.
It's great. Tyler, what would you say to high school students thinking about coming to Western to take LBS?
I have everyone asking themselves the question, what am I actually looking to get out of college? And if their answer is, I'm just looking to get by, get my degree and go, LBS is not for you. But if your answer is, I'm looking to really lean in, really get after it and make a big impact to have a really great career in life, LBS is definitely for you. And it's not just the experiences you get, but it's the community around you. So all these other students in this program, they're taking the program by choice. You have to take it with another major, another minor or whatnot. Everyone's here by choice. They all want to get better together. And so that in itself is a network for years and years to come of people you can lean on and rely on through your life. So I have no regrets at all of taking LBS, and I really hope that you consider it as well if you're looking to really get the most out of your experience in college.
Excellent. So that's great stuff, guys. We're gonna end with rapid fire really quickly. That's our tradition here on the podcast, so you guys get to do it. Tyler's already done this once, so this should be easy for him. But we'll start off with Tyler, so it gives Cordell a second because he hasn't.
Go reverse. Go reverse. Start with Cordell.
The hot seat.
Because he doesn't get any prep. Tyler already knows.
I'm gonna go Tyler first.
All right.
Tyler, ready?
I'm ready.
Favorite leader?
My dad.
Cordell?
I'm gonna go with LeBron.
Okay, Tyler, courage or compassion?
I'll say courage.
I also will take courage because, do we?
Nope.
Nope.
More
Oh,
answers.
no. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Speed or accuracy?
I'll say speed.
Accuracy.
Great ideas or great execution?
Great execution.
Execution.
A word to describe your leadership style?
I'd say engaging.
Love.
Night owl or early bird?
Early bird.
Night owl.
Leadership or business strategy?
Leadership.
Leadership.
And to close out, if you had an animal to reflect your leadership style, what would be your animal?
I'd say bald eagle, but hopefully not actually bald soon. Just but eagle for sure.
Okay.
Cordell? Go. Wolf.
Okay. You got to tell.
Pack.
Yeah, you got to. So tell us the reason behind a wolf and an eagle. Go ahead, Tyler. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Cordell, you go first.
Oh,
Cordell,
yeah. A wolf. I'm a together person, or I work well in teams. I think that's I found out to be as a team player. Wolves run in a pack, and they all have their unique role within that. There's a lead wolves, and there's wolves that lead from the back actually, and so the way that they get from point A to point B, very unique structure, and I think that highlights my team experience well. So I'll
okay,
rock with the wolf.
Okay, Tyler, why an eagle?
I think eagle does a really good job of taking down prey just by flying over everything and just looking at all the great prey down there, and then being able to quickly dial in what they're looking at and then just going for the kill. So that's why I'd say bald eagle.
Excellent.
That's a good analogy. You're seeing the whole forest, and then you're getting dialed in and taking a shot. I like it. Good.
Well, a great episode today. We had Tyler Earnst, who is a junior, senior. What are you, a senior now? Junior.
I graduated in December, a semester early, so I guess I'm like a junior senior hybrid.
Yeah, a junior senior hybrid here at Western Michigan University. LBS in sales, double major, has a great internship at Dell coming up. Kordell Smith just graduated from LBS here at Western with a sales degree, works at VMware, and we had Megan Miller, an LBS graduate with marketing as her second major, who's now at Deloitte. Thank you all for joining us on The Jungle.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.